4 weeks ago, we set out to do the impossible and take a rival-rated team and teach them everything they need to know to get Gladiator for the first time. Our 3 players started their journey at just under 2k rating, but within 3 weeks, they had reached 2400, an achievement that had been evading them for multiple expansions. Now, they needed their 50 wins for Gladiator, which would require consistent wins at elite rating. After spending the last 4 weeks developing offense, defense, and positioning, it was time to move on to communication, which was their biggest challenge yet. Would our team be able to break through that final barrier? It was time to find out. Welcome back to the Skill-Capped Road to Glad Challenge. Let's get one thing straight. Communication is hard, and in Shadowlands, it is sometimes impossible.
Oh my god, I'm dead. You kidding me? Oh my god.
Every skill we covered up to this point is something you can actively work on. If you want to become better at offense, you can practice damage, which can be done on a target dummy, or even during your weekly chore fest. Defense and positioning can be practiced too, but really require a true arena experience. Focusing on these 3 skills alone can get you pretty far, and our team's progress from 1900 to 2.4 was proof that improving an arena could happen with these skills alone. But communication was still an issue, and many of the mistakes they had been making up to this point were caused by poor communication.
I locked me on Shadow. I'm silent, I'm trinketing for it. I'm trapped!
Just. We got this.
I'm gone, me already. Already gone. I'm absolutely so sad. Oh my god, they've got him.
I'm
I'm coming back. No.
This is one of the biggest reasons LFG is so difficult. Without clear comms, the chance of making meta mistakes skyrockets. If you aren't communicating properly, it can cause you to make any of the issues we have here, which can easily snowball into a loss. The goals for this week would be teaching communication by focusing on its function on offense and defense. For both of these things, the goal of communication is to answer 3 questions: what happened, what's happening, and what is going to happen. Specifically, this means coordinating and communicating your win conditions on offense by calling out CC, important offensive cooldowns for your team, and defensive CDs for the enemy team. On the other hand, defensive communication is centered around calling out the win conditions of the enemy team by tracking their offensive cooldowns and CCs while developing a plan to trade your own defensives to counter their attacks. And with that in mind, it was time for our players to meet with their coaches to see what was going wrong. During our VOD review, our coaches noticed one thing immediately, that our RMP really didn't have proper shot calling. They knew how to 3-2-1 setups, but were lacking a general leader to make important offensive calls. As any comp, not just RMP, you need to have someone keeping track of win conditions. This is something that the best players in the world routinely do, and it all starts with communication.
I blind sap and we win on Shadow Priest. Game over, okay? Yeah, just live a little bit more. Hunter, you trinket link next go, okay? I promise you we win go after. I'm gonna pop now. All my cities. Fear me. I blind. We win here. Yeah? Keep going. We win. I cloak the void volleys. Kenny, zapping. Keep going. You should die through. I tricked you. Yeah, it's fine. I can kill alone. Just pump. I kick.
In this clip, Waz calls his team's win almost 30 seconds before it actually happens. He recognizes that the Shadow Priest doesn't have Disperse, while the healer doesn't have a trinket. And with Blind and Vanish available, he just needs to wait out DRs before he can do an extended CC chain by himself into a kill target that doesn't have defensive CDs. All of these things together form the actual win condition. The kill target doesn't have defensives, and the healer doesn't have trinket. And when DRs finally reset, he is able to blind sap the healer while pumping damage into a target that doesn't have any defensives left. This win condition was recognized nearly 30 seconds prior, and it was orchestrated entirely by proper offensive communication. One immediate mistake our team was making was failing to call out important defensives from their kill target. This would sometimes mean that they were wasting their own damage into a target with defensives instead of immediately swapping to create more pressure.
In a way, it's psychological, because if you communicate priest popped everything, go hunter, it's like you really want to go that hunter now. It's like, oh, the priest f***ed up, let's punish this hunter for that, right? Like, the priest popped everything, he didn't really need to, and now we have a perfect go hunter. But I think that's one just basic thing that maybe you should, I don't want to overwhelm you with too many things to communicate, but this is one, useful thing to talk about, is what cooldowns the enemy team used defensively. Like, oh, he paints up here, like, let's swap, or he got sacked, let's swap. It's because you guys don't really talk about that. I mean, you wind up going hunter anyway, so the outcome is the same, but it should be kind of communicated too.
By now you might be asking, wait, aren't add-ons supposed to help tell you this information? The answer is yes, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't communicate important cooldowns. Add-ons tell you available information on your screen, but you never know for sure if your partners are seeing the same information. That is where communication comes into play. It helps fill any information gaps in Arena, making sure everyone on your team is on the same page.
You all know, as individuals, that the priest pressed domed, but you don't know if your partners know that the priest pressed domed. So it's like your add-ons can communicate some of the things for you, but it's just useful to talk about what the enemy team has done too, just so you can play around it. If you guys had just been a bit patient and waited out this dome, let's see what happens. I guess you kind of wait out the dome a little bit, but it would have been a useful thing to really discuss, because you could have got more value out of your go and not rushed it into a cooldown that you're not going to kill through anyway.
By communicating what cooldowns the enemy has available, you can make sure everyone on your team knows who is actually vulnerable for a kill setup.
I can trinket fear of needle.
I can DB sheep maybe. I can DB sheep, I can sub to fear.
Nice, beautiful.
Feral no trinket barrier, just keep that in mind. We can kill ferals with mind games.
I have no mind game, but I have Malin.
Yeah.
Our players weren't just having communication mistakes on offense, and defense is where they truly struggled. In Arena, you need to constantly track the enemy team's win condition, and just like before, some of this is possible through add-ons like Omnibar and Weak Auras, but it's not enough to rely on these add-ons alone, and as a team, you need to plan who will be using defensive CDs to instantly respond to enemy attacks. This is crucial at the start of each game to survive the opening set of cooldowns from the enemy team. Classes like Windwalker monks and ret paladins do so much front-loaded damage that you can't wait and see if a cooldown trade is needed. And if you don't trade instantly, it can mean an instant loss. The solution to this problem is easier than you might think. Just like you would pre-communicate your first offensive push in the game, you should also pre-communicate your defensive plan for the first set of enemy cooldowns.
Defensive communication comes into play the moment your setup is over, because that's when the enemy team is going to be doing theirs, and so that's when you should be talking about who's going to be pressing before the go even happens. Ideally, you should be pre-communicating the response, because in Shadowlands, right, if you try to tell someone to press the moment the cooldowns are popped, it can be already too late, you know? Like, Windwalker monks can just blast people, right? And ret paladins can just blast people. So you should kind of already be pre-discussing the defensive cooldown usage before the cooldowns are already popped. That way, you can instantly respond if needed.
Pre-communicating defensives is one of the main reasons tournament players are able to have incredibly long dampening games, even in a meta where burst damage is insane. They are constantly keeping track of enemy CDs and planning their response, sometimes minutes before the enemy go.
He ventured as well. Listen, in 1.5 minutes, he will one-shot me. He will try one-shot me. I'm going battle chest. Please save me. Maybe I'm too YOLO. When do you have trinket chest? When you have 30 seconds left of your trinket, they're gonna one-shot chest with Venter, okay? We have to save him. You need to somehow trinket swap, and I know you can't, so I don't know. Yeah, so it's gonna be really disgusting. I need to save chest.
But sometimes pre-planning defensives isn't always possible in the chaos of Arena, and you will have to make a quick decision on who will press defensives to block an enemy attack.
Like, let's say you're the target as a rogue, or your mage is the target. Your priest or yourself, like your priest will, like, you can also do yourself, but it doesn't really matter. One of you guys has to call, like, you or me, basically. Like, you don't even have to say much. Like, you don't have to say press this. All you have to say is, like, you use, or like I use, you or me. And, like, let's say your priest in this situation would just say you, that means you're gonna have to press. And if he says me, then your priest is gonna press, and you're not gonna use anything. And that's maybe like an easy kind of concept to maybe use that. Maybe you guys can just kind of copy that and do that when you play yourself, because it's like a very easy thing. Like, it's then at least it's always going to be clear who's going to use what. Because, I mean, obviously the worst thing that can happen is that you guys overlap CDs in general.
Part of communicating you or me involves knowing who on your team has a cooldown to block enemy kill attempts. Just like you should pre-communicate what cooldowns you're going to use, you should also communicate if you're unable to use specific CDs, especially PvP trinket for a future setup.
This is very scary. I trinketed offensively there.
I've trinketed in 15. I've trinketed 15k.
Yeah.
I have my trinket, but
I don't know how he's going up in mana.
In Arena, it's important to communicate both what cooldowns you have and don't have so that your team is able to plan a different route for shutting down a kill setup. This is especially true for utility-heavy specs, like Arms Warriors or Ret Paladins, since a single defensive cooldown like Intervene or Blessing of Sanctuary can completely shut down a kill. And finally, for any class with peeling tools, your defensive CC is also worth communicating. Spammable CC like Polymorph and Cyclone, or even cooldown-based peels like Disarm and Incapacitating Roar are able to shut down enemy kills. So announcing what peels you have available lets your team know how they should trade CDs into incoming attacks.
You're
so
fine.
far.
Oh, no, maybe not. I'm cheap shot.
Oh, she made.
Turtle when you can. Spam it. Spam turtle
She
when
made
you
again?
Made up.
can. Okay.
I'm just doing it.
I bashed rogue here.
Chris is running in.
I'll blank your mage. I'll blank your mage.
I'll be fine. They can't kill me.
Get something.
They can't kill me right now. Call me mage.
Can't kill me either, so.
So to recap our lesson from this week, our team needed to focus on communicating win conditions both on offense and on defense. Offensively, this meant coordinating setups with CC and cooldowns while also being aware of enemy defensives. On defense, our team would need to monitor enemy cooldowns and pre-plan who would respond to the next go. With our team done with their coaching for the week, it was time to see if they could take their lessons into Arena and grind out some of their Gladiator wins. Oh, and as a reminder, if you like what you've seen so far, we got more at skillcap.com/wow. There you will find our complete coaching sessions for each video in the series, as well as hundreds of matchup guides from some of the best players in the world. Signing up today costs as low as $4.99 a month and gives you instant access to over 600 videos. And with a money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. So check out skillcap.com/wow today. When our team started this week, their offensive communication was already pretty good, and from our lesson in week 1, they already knew how to communicate cross CC. But now, they were starting to call out important enemy defensives, allowing them to get quicker swaps to close out games.
Been locked. I'm just going for it anyway.
We got PS. We swap Hunter now, okay?
Okay.
Oh, there's the
I'm clearing.
Nice, boys.
By focusing on calling out their win conditions, they were able to pre-plan their goes well in advance, making sure everyone was ready to contribute to the kill.
I can blind lock next go.
Okay, I'll CC mage. I've got bus next go. We
I'm
win.
just banning
I'll vanish this. We're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
I kick Shadow Fury. Yeah. I will blind lock.
Okay.
We hit through now.
He's dead.
Nice.
So, by calling out their offensive cooldowns, our team was able to get more efficient swaps, which would be required to beat opponents who were better at rotating defensives.
Maybe I
I've got
vanished.
a bus. I've got a bus. Can you CC Warrior and we win?
Yeah, I can. Let's go.
Go. I've missed my DB. I'm so bad at this
stun him
game,
for
man.
you.
I've got him anyway. Ooh, see what I mean? It's so easy when we just actually like...
On top of our team's ability to call out cooldowns, Mark was finding unique win conditions and communicating them to his team.
He's not used his trinket, but he's used his
Will.
so he's on trinket. He can't trinket the next go.
Yeah.
Who do I do it on?
Feral.
Tell me when to go. I can TC priest.
I blind warrior.
I've got.
Go. Win.
I vanished.
Their defensive communication was improving, and our team started to call out who would be using CDs.
Run.
I stay myself.
I'm hexed.
But yeah.
Just leave.
Arcane locked.
Okay, you're fine.
I saw him warrior.
And with a better understanding of the enemy team's win conditions, our priest was even starting to call cooldowns for his partners.
I get this reach still.
Altar early. Nice, really good altar.
They still had some work to do with their defensive communication, but improvements were still happening, and our players were starting to call out who would be trading defensives on enemy goes.
Kick fire.
I'm
Rogue's out.
full blind. It's you.
This would help them avoid overlapping CDs, which had been a huge problem up to this point. This type of communication was happening both ways, as our priest was starting to dictate defensive CDs for his team, something that rank 1 healers are really good at.
Don't use anything.
Okay.
Alright, ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Go, 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 go.
I bomb this. He trinket vanish. We have the advantage here.
And in the same way they would call offensive strats in the starting room, they were starting to do the same for the defensive CD rotation.
I'll trinket, evasion, and pot if they go me and you're in trap, okay? They still have vanish for the next go.
By calling win conditions both offensively and defensively, our team was making progress on their 50-win journey to Gladiator. Over the past few weeks, our team had learned key concepts in offense, defense, and positioning, 3 things that would be elevated by proper communication. Although our team didn't get their 50 wins this week, they were getting closer, but more importantly, they were seeing improvement. With just 1 pillar left, our team just needed to put in the final work required for Gladiator. Before we send it off, we just want to thank you all for the support we've had for the series so far. Let us know in the comments below what comp we should choose for our next Road to Glad challenge and whether or not you would like to participate. And once again, if you're interested in seeing the full coaching sessions for every episode, be sure to check out skillcat.com/wow. But as always, thanks for watching. See you next week.